This is the first star of its kind ever discovered in human history and the oldest of its kind ever observed.
Our professor was so happy. This was the happiest I'd ever seen him. He was quite literally jumping up and down. And we were like, what is going on? And he was like, this is it. It was one of the cleanest spectra I'd ever seen in my life.
Did you just hear what I said? The oldest star of its kind ever discovered. You're probably thinking, just like I thought when I started reading about this case, that this is probably the product of some cutting-edge NASA research with a massive budget, led by the world's best astrophysicists. Wrong! This time, we're talking about a discovery by 10 students led by Professor Alexander G. that started as a course at the University of Chicago. A new discovery, a fascinating story, and another breakthrough for science. The adventure awaits. Let's begin. 10 undergraduate students enroll in an astrophysics field course and they get an assignment from the professor. They need to go through data from thousands of stars out of a database called the SDSS. And no, I didn't just type gibberish on the keyboard. Let me explain. The SDSS is one of the most ambitious projects in human history, and it stands for Sloan Digital Sky Survey. Did I get it right? The SDSS is like it's like the Google Maps of the universe. The project's main telescope sits at the Apache Point Observatory in New Mexico. It is equipped with a wide-angle digital camera, which means that instead of photographing a single spot, the telescope scans wide. It scans the sky itself. It uses a technology called drift scanning. The telescope remains fixed while the Earth naturally rotates, and the stars simply flow across the sensors. This allows it to produce massive two-dimensional maps of millions of objects at once, which is something that would take human years if they ever tried to do it manually. The group's mission, as mentioned, is to sit patiently, filter, and find outlier stars whose spectrum, meaning their light barcode, looks clean. This barcode, by the way, is called spectra. As a star burns, the light it emits must pass through its outer layers before reaching our telescope. If these layers contain elements like iron, calcium, or magnesium, these atoms simply swallow specific wavelengths of light. The result is a spectrum filled with black lines, a sort of barcode that shows us exactly how dirty or clean a star is. This task might sound like a Sisyphean and boring task. Sorry, Professor. But the truth is, it's not like that at all. It's actually pretty cool because whoever finds the too clean star basically finds a star from the dawn of time. How do I link all these exaggerated conclusions? Think about the universe at the moment of the Big Bang. It was composed almost entirely out of hydrogen and helium. That's it. No iron, no oxygen, and no carbon. These metals didn't exist at all. By the way, astronomers are a bit lazy with their terminology, and since the early universe was 99% hydrogen and helium, they actually decided to call every other element on the periodic table a metal. And so metals, or basically everything heavier than hydrogen or helium, was created in a supernova explosion that polluted space with new stardust. Astronomers categorize all stars in the universe into three families or populations. Population 1, the young and the wealthy. These are the modern stars. Our sun is a classic example. They were born into a rich universe, heavily polluted with elements like iron, gold, oxygen, and carbon. Why? Because before they were even born, billions of stars had already died, exploding in supernovas and scattering their dust across the galaxy. Our sun is essentially a product of cosmic recycling. a third or a fourth generation star. And then you have population 2. These are the old and the poor. This is where the story gets interesting. These are stars born much earlier when the universe was still relatively young. They don't have much dirt or metals because there hadn't been enough supernovas yet to fill the void. They are old, they are pale, and they are mostly found lurking in the outskirts of the galaxy. And finally, population 3. This is the Holy Grail. These are the first stars in history, those born directly from the pristine gas of the Big Bang. These stars were made of 100% pure gas. Astronomers estimate that they were monsters, 100 to 1,000 times the size of our sun. Because they were so massive, they lived fast and died young. They exploded in colossal supernovas within just a few million years, which is a heartbeat in the cosmic terms. And the problem? Because they died so quickly, we can't find them today. They are long gone, the ghosts of the universe. The game here is to find a star that was right there next to them, a star born moments after the first ones died. The fewer the metals we find in a star, the more we are actually looking at the living witness of the first era that stars were born. So now we understand the whole process. You observe a star to search for its spectra. The cleaner the spectra is, the less metals in it. And this means the older the star is, and the closer we get to the very first moments of the universe. So a couple of days ago, I was searching online and I wanted to find one of the students that discovered this pristine star. I wanted to ask so many questions about this discovery, and I actually managed to find one that agreed. Her name is Hillary, and in like a couple of hours from now I'm going to be interviewing her. And yeah, it's actually surprising that she agreed, and I hope I'll get the best out of this interview. Hillary!
Hi!
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this interview.
Of course, I'm very honored, and I'm very happy that you're interested in our new discovery, and I'm very excited to talk about it.
This discovery is like amazing. The whole world is talking about it right now. How is it for you to be in the center of this discovery?
Oh, it's amazing. This has always been my dream. I've always dreamed of being an astronomer and discovering something. And now, as a graduate student, I get to be part of this amazing discovery. So a bit of background about me. I am from the Philippines. I was born and raised there. Ever since I was a kid, I've been appreciating astronomy. And I remember the specific moment when I got interested. And that was when my mother gave me this book about the solar system and the planets. And that was when I saw for the first time that you could fit 1 million Earths inside of the sun. And I was like, wow, space is so big.
When you started this course, did you ever expect to discover something as big as you discovered?
No, not at all. This was completely unexpected. The whole point of this course was to give the undergraduate students the exposure to what it's like to do observing with a big telescope.
Back to our students. Our determined friends are doing the assignment. They are sitting and filtering the findings of the SDSS, and they come up with this list of 77 stars that are worth checking out up close. And then comes spring break, and they do what we all do in spring break. They fly to the Las Campanas Observatory in Chile. The data from the SDSS are excellent for scanning millions of stars, but they are considered low resolution. It's like looking at a blurry picture from a distance. You can see there's a person there, but you can't, for example, see the color of their eyes. In Chile, the students can use a telescope called MIKE, and with this instrument you can break down the light to a much higher level of detail, and then accurately measure the amount of metals present in each of the 77 outlier stars. This story drove me so crazy. I said to myself, I have to put on an effort for my viewers. So I decided also to fly to Chile to get to the telescope myself. Only that I don't really have the budget. And this is my opportunity to ask you guys if you want to help me succeed in raising the level of my episodes and basically keeping this channel alive. There is a link in the description below to buy me a coffee. Any help from you guys, even just $1, will allow me to keep pushing forward and doing the best I can for you. The backpack was such a stupid idea.
This was during March of 2025, and we were all very excited, I think for all of us, except our professor. That was our first time ever going to Chile to do observing, and this has always been my dream. So we went there and we had dedicated a week to be there, but there were only 2 nights when we were supposed to observe. So on the other nights, we were just visiting all of the other telescopes in the mountain. And so, but right before our observing night, we had to lock in. We had to budget our time very well, because every night spent using this telescope is around $50,000 in operational cost or something like that. And then when sunset hits, or like when sundown hits and it's fully dark, that's when the action starts to happen. So we start going through it star by star. And then right as each spectrum comes in, we try to analyze the data as it comes in. As this one star's data came in through the telescope, we looked at it right there and then we were like, wow, this looks interesting. And so that's why we were like, okay, all of the other stars that we were planning to observe this night, we're throwing them out. We're putting in 3 or 4 hours on this one star because this looks important. What was important was, it was not what we saw, it was what we didn't see. Because what we are looking for are very, very metal poor stars, stars with no metals. And if you have a star that has 0, like very, very tiny amount of metals, you will not see very many spectral lines or dips in the spectrum. And that's what we did not. We did not see any lines.
The professor's original plan was pretty simple. It was 10 minutes per star to collect data and then move on. But as soon as the data from this star started flowing to the screen, Professor Alexander G realized that this star would change the plans for the whole course. The second star on the list presented data that had never been observed.
Our professor was so happy. This was the happiest I'd ever seen him. He was quite literally jumping up and down. And we were like, what is going on? We didn't really understand, because he was the only one who fully understood this.
Yeah.
Because he was the professor. He had seen probably millions of spectra in his career. He was so excited. He was like, this is it.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So that was the happiest I'd ever seen him.
You see, to calculate the age of a star, it's like this chemical archaeology. You do a formula that compares the star to our sun. You take the ratio between iron and hydrogen in the star and you divide it by the ratio that already exists in our sun. So the result is on a logarithmic scale. If the result is 0, for example, the star is similar to the sun, which means like relatively young, right? 4.6 billion years old. If the result is -1, for example, it has 10 times fewer metals than the sun. In the star with the gibberish name, the value was extremely low. It was around -4 and even below that, which means, get ready to it has less than 0.005% of the metal that is in our sun. That's 2 zeros after the decimal point. Think about it. Anyway, all that this means is that this star is a pure relic from the very first days of the universe. This dude is ancient. And more than that, making it the most metal-poor star to ever been observed. More than twice as metal-poor as the previous record holder. Fascinating, crazy, and perhaps somewhat niche. Alright, going star hunting now. See you on the next one.
Yeah. I'm ready to play now. Put me in the game now. I came here to prove it. I'm ready to do it. I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time.